Aloha, what's up everybody? I'm JayDreamerZ and welcome to today's presentation where I'll be going over Project A119, Russia and the United States' plan to blow up the moon. I believe that I have stumbled across some important information that most people have dismissed. This is an important government document. I have the document that I'm going to put on screen. We might go over that together. It's pretty extensive, so we'll start reading it today after I go over the presentation and explain to everybody what this is and why it's important. The United States and Russia both collaborated about 10 years before the moon landing, deciding that they wanted to send nuclear bombs up to the moon to blow up the moon. And I've mentioned this a few other times, but this secret project is called A119. And I'm going to explain the rabbit hole I went down trying to figure out what that means, because I felt strongly that there was going to be other projects subsequent, A118, A117, and so on. And that took me to A113, which I've seen in the Pixar movies all the time. And, you know, they try to say that it's just the number of the door where they learned how to draw or whatever. I don't think so. I think this is deep. I think this rabbit hole goes pretty damn deep. I think it's related to prophecy. I think it's related to the apocalypse, or at least an up-and-coming cataclysm. And I believe it's related to the elite of the world preparing and making bunkers and preparations for some sort of cataclysm that they may be trying to trigger, which is blowing up the moon. And by the way, when I say blowing up the moon, I'll explain that as we go, but I see the moon in the sky as a projection of the firmament. So what I really mean is them blowing up the firmament itself to create a hole in the firmament. Let me just double check with the chat, see if we got some people in here. We do. What's up? We got Jason Banks, Grimy, the Gozerian. Hey, cool. Sweet Asylum, Little Bluebird, Make America Guitar Against, and the Cable Guy, 1AJ11, Tina Grit. Good to see you guys. All right, cool. Sweet. I'm glad that some people are here. Hopefully the audio is good, and hopefully you guys can see everything okay. I'm going to just jump right into things here with Project A119. I'm going to read over it first, just to give you guys a refresher, okay? And this is from the Wikipedia article. This is public information. Keep in mind, this was top secret. The only reason this was leaked is because Carl Sagan's involvement accidentally let the information slip. So it was out there once, you know, allegedly once Carl Sagan got involved in things. So Project A119. Now they're going to tell you, oh, well, yeah, that's true, but we decided not to do it. Is that true? Did they decide not to do it, or are they just saying that because now it's declassified? Now it's public knowledge. Now everybody knows about it, right? Of course. So let's jump into things. Project A119, also known as a study of lunar research flights, was a top secret plan developed in 1958. It's an important time, that whole 1950s era, and I'll explain why in a bit. By the United States Air Force. The aim of the project was to detonate a nuclear bomb on the moon, which would help in answering some of the mysteries in a planetary and astronomy and astrogeology. So I guess they are saying that blowing up the moon would help to solve some kind of mysteries or something of the moon or whatever. I don't believe that. If the explosive device detonated on the surface and not in a lunar crater, the flash of explosive light would have been a faintly visible glimmer to the people on Earth with the naked eye. This was meant as a show of force, resulting in a possible boosting of domestic morale in the capabilities of the United States, a boost that was needed after the Soviet Union took the early lead in the space race. Does any of this even sound remotely legitimate to you? First, they're saying, oh, for scientific reasons, so we can discover the secrets of whatever. Now they're saying, oh, we were actually going to do it as a show of force. We'll blow up a bomb on the moon and that'll show Russia. You know what I mean? Everyone will see how powerful we are. This doesn't make a lot of sense. You know what I mean? And the more you dive into this rabbit hole, the less sense this actually makes. It just gets more and more confusing. The reality makes more sense to me, which is they're trying to crack open the dome. They're trying to escape the earth. They're trying to ascend back up into the heavens and take control of the heavenly places. And they're trying to cause a cataclysm purposefully. I'll explain why as we go. The project was never carried out, being canceled, allegedly, after Air Force officials decided its risks outweighed its benefits. And because a moon landing would undoubtedly be more popular of an achievement in the eyes of the American and international public alike. If executed, the plan might have led to a potential militarization of space. The identical project by the Soviet Union, Project E4, Echo 4, also never came to fruition due to fears of the warhead falling back onto Soviet territory and the potential for an international incident. Now keep in mind that during this exact same time, they're already exploding nuclear bombs in the upper atmosphere. So that wasn't a concern. They're trying to tell you that they were worried that this nuclear bomb would somehow fall back to Earth from the moon. Okay? So yeah, they're telling you, yeah, they spent years and years and years planning this out as one of the strange secret government projects and things that they were up to, their plans and schemes. The existence of the United States project was revealed in the year 2000. In the year 2000, by a former executive at the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, Leonard Riefel, who had led the project in 1958. A young Carl Sagan was part of the team responsible for predicting the effects of a nuclear explosion in a vacuum and in low gravity, and evaluating the scientific value of the project. Carl Sagan, the popular guy who sounds like Agent Smith, who had the show Cosmos back in like the 70s and 80s and stuff. The relevant documents remained secret for nearly 45 years, and despite Rifle's revelations, the United States government has never officially acknowledged its involvement in the study. Now, during the Cold War, now this is interesting to me, I think the dome, the firmament, is made out of frozen gas, aka ice. So it's interesting to me that they call it a Cold War, an alleged war between Russia and the United States, which are allies. All of these countries are allies, okay? They make you think that they are at war with one another, but they're actually friends and family members. So during this Cold War, or the war against the dome or the heavens, the Soviet Union took the lead in the quote-unquote space race with the launch of Sputnik 1 on the 4th of October 1957. Sputnik was the first artificial satellite in orbit around the Earth, and the surprise of its successful launch compounded by the researching failure of Project Vanguard to launch an American satellite. Project Vanguard was a program managed by the United States Navy, which intended to launch the first artificial satellite into low Earth orbit using a Vanguard rocket as the launch vehicle from Cape Canaveral. So after that, after two attempts, had been dubbed the Sputnik crisis by the media and was the whole beginning of the space race, allegedly. Trying to reclaim lost ground. Listen, it wasn't a space race. They weren't racing against each other. There was no competition. They were working together, right? They were just maximizing their efforts by doubling their efforts to shoot the moon. Eventually included the launch of Explorer 1, the creation of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, and NASA. In 1949, the Armor Research Foundation, based in Illinois, began studying the effects of nuclear explosions on the environment. Those studies continued until 1962. In 1958, ARF began covertly, secretly, researching potential consequences of a nuclear explosion on the moon. Why? That's what I'm asking. Why would they even have that as an idea? I know they told you, oh, a show of force, oh, to unlock the mysteries of the moon or whatever. So you blow it up? You know what I mean? That's the first thing on their mind. There's way more to the story here, buddy. The main objective of the program, running under the auspices of the United States Air Force, which had initially proposed it, was to cause a nuclear explosion that would be visible from Earth. It hoped that such a display would boost the morale of the American people. Yeah, let's destroy the moon. That'll boost the morale of all the wackos out there. Are you serious? This can't be what they were really thinking. There's no possible way. Remember, this is supposed to be like the cream of the crop, the top of the top, the tippy top of the intellectuals of like the earth. At the time of the project's conception, newspapers were reporting a rumor that the Soviet Union was planning to detonate a hydrogen bomb on the moon. According to press reports in late 1957, an anonymous source had divulged to a United States Secret Service agent that the Soviets planned to commemorate the anniversary of the October Revolution, also known as the Great October Socialist Revolution, the October Coup, the Bolshevik group, etc., and so on and so forth, by causing a nuclear explosion on the moon to coincide with a lunar eclipse on the 7th of November. So the Russians wanted to commemorate the anniversary of some revolution by blowing up the moon. You know what I mean? Instead of fireworks, instead of, free drinks at the bar or whatever, they wanted to blow up the moon. That's amazing. And during a lunar eclipse as well. They want to do it during an eclipse. So check this out. There's this whole, what do you call it? Project Anchor, allegedly, right? Where they want to, where they say that they know that the Earth will lose its gravity during an eclipse later this year. I've got a few videos about that, but I think it's interesting. Eclipses keep coming into play, and eclipses are directly related to apocalyptic cycles and cataclysms across time. Major omens. News reports of the rumored launch included mention of the targeting of the dark side of the Terminator line around the moon, which is where daylight meets nighttime on the moon, which for us during a full moon would be the outer ring of the moon itself. That's important if you consider what the moon is. If you think that the moon is a solid rock, fine, whatever. Then they're trying to blow up half of the moon, basically all the way around it. If the moon is a projection of a portion of the firmament, then it's a dome that's hanging off of the firmament, a bowl, as the firmament droops downward at the apex, creating an apex dome or a bowl hanging down facing us. The Terminator line would be the edge of where that dome or that bowl meets the actual firmament itself, right? So they would line the edge of the apex dome with bombs. If, in fact, the moon that we see in the sky is a projected luminary and a portion of the firmament. Let's see. It was also reported that a failure to hit the moon would likely result in the missile returning to Earth. So what? Like I said, they're already shooting nukes galore up into the heavens, out in the Pacific, out in Antarctica, with all these other types of strange military projects where they're trying to blow up the sky. Give me a break. A similar idea had been put forward by Edward Teller, father of the H-bomb, who in February of 1957 proposed the detonation of nuclear devices both on and some distance from the lunar surface to analyze the effects of the explosion. That doesn't sound like, a bad guy in an old cartoon. I don't know what does. We want to analyze the effects of the explosion, yeah? What else we got here? They say that they wanted to line the moon's Terminator line with explosions for maximum visibility from Earth. They're trying to punch a hole in the firmament. That's what I'm going to keep preaching. A 10-member team led by Leonard Rifle was assembled at the Illinois State Institute of Technology in Chicago to study the potential visibility of the explosion, the benefits to science, and the implications for the lunar surface. Not good. Whatever that would be, even if it was a rock in space, that would obviously the implications would be bad, all bad for the moon. Among the members of the research team were the astronomer Gerard Kuiper and his doctoral student, Carl Sagan. Sagan was responsible for the mathematical projection of the expansion of the dust cloud in space around the moon, an essential element in determining its visibility from Earth. This is amazing. Scientists initially considered using a hydrogen bomb for the project, but the United States Air Force vetoed that idea due to the weight of such a device, because it would be too heavy to be propelled by the missile which would have been used. It was then decided to use a W-25 warhead, a small, lightweight warhead with relatively low 1.7 kiloton yield. By contrast, the little boy bomb dropped on the Japanese city of Hiroshima, allegedly, in 1945 had a yield of 13 to 18 kilotons. Just a little nuclear explosion on the moon, they're saying. The W-25 would be carried by a rocket toward the shadowed side of the moon where it would detonate on impact. Listen, where do they keep going these days when they're aiming for the moon? The dark side, the shadowed side, the Terminator line. This is still happening. I'm telling you right now. And back then they're saying their rockets weren't good enough to carry, the types of bombs they really wanted to shoot at the moon. Ask yourself, do we have that technology now? Have they been clearly working on bigger and bigger rockets? Yes. What else we got here? Cancellation. The project was canceled by the Air Force, allegedly, in 1959, seemingly out of fear of the risk of the population if anything went wrong with the launch. Do they really care about the population? Ask yourself that. Okay? You already know what your government's doing. As a matter of fact, for the next couple of weeks, I'll be doing a special series of strange secret government projects and operations. So tune in. You'll see exactly how much they really care about the population. Okay? So seemingly out of fear of the risk to the population if anything went wrong. Another factor that they allegedly canceled, cited by the project leader, Leonard Riefel, was the possible problem of nuclear fallout, which would affect future lunar research projects and moon colonization. So they're like, I don't know if we should do that because we might, make the moon radioactive and then we can't live there or something like that. I mean, come on, do you really need to put this much effort into it and everything? Like that, if that's the concern, if that's the reason for cancellation, wouldn't this never have even been a thing? That'd be the first thing on people's mind. Like, hey, if we blow it up and there's nuclear fallout, we might not ever be able to go there. You know what I mean? Yeah, we probably shouldn't do this. And it would have been canceled immediately. So there's clearly more to the story. Evidence of the Soviet project. Later reports in the 2010s showed that a corresponding Soviet project did indeed exist. Although the only official documents on the project found so far began in 1958, not the 1957 date of the anonymous source whose rumors initiated the U.S. project. The official Soviet plan also differs from the scenario reported in the press. Started in January of 1958, it was part of a series of proposals under the codename E, or Echo. Project E1, Echo 1, entailed plans to reach the moon, while projects E2 and E3 involved sending a probe around to the far side of the moon to take a series of photographs from the surface. Does this sound familiar to what's happening right now in modern times with the Artemis mission? It does. It should, because that's the exact steps that they are using, the exact steps, the exact sequence. The final stage of the project. Now, if we can look at the past to determine the future, pay attention. This could be important. The final stage of the E4 project was to be a nuclear strike on the moon as a display of force. As with the American plan, the Echo series of projects was canceled while still in its planning stages due to concerns regarding safety and reliability of the launch vehicle. I don't believe any of that. I don't believe any of their official reasons why they allegedly canceled all of these top secret plans that were just discovered in the year 2000. I completely believe that they're still planning to blow up the moon. And I think that this is what the Artemis project or Artemis missions are all about. They're not landing on the moon and they're going to go walk around and they're going to record it for everyone again. Our technology is too good and people are hopefully much more intelligent than we used to be back when the television first rolled out and people were watching them live stream from the moon. take phone calls from the moon and play golf on the moon and drive around on the moon and haven't ever since then. You know what I mean? Sorry. Need a little water. All right. Consequences. The signing of the Partial Nuclear Test Ban Treaty in 1963 and the Outer Space Treaty in 1967 prevented future investigations of the concept of detonating a nuclear device on the moon. So, stay away from blowing things up on the moon. They also had a treaty, stay away from Antarctica. Don't go mess with Antarctica. Could there be a connection between what we think of as Antarctica and what we think of as the moon? I believe there is. I believe that there is an ice dome that goes over the Earth, and it curves around towards the edges, and it connects to what we call Antarctica. And if that's the case, then the real moon, the apex dome that is hanging off of the top of the firmament, is physically connected to the Earth, physically connected directly to Antarctica. That you could walk to the moon, you know, go up the side or whatever, it's connected. But I believe in the ancient cosmologies. But even if you don't, this should still be mind-blowing. By that time, both the United States and the Soviet Union had performed several high-altitude nuclear explosions, including the American Operation Hardtack, Operation Argus, Operation Fishbowl, and the Soviet Project K. That's just a few. They were already blowing up the sky at this point in time, with no regard to nuclear radiation in the jet stream, the winds carrying it to the rest of the world, and nothing. They're really worried about nuclear radiation on the moon, though, not here on Earth. By 1969, the United States had succeeded in being the first nation to land a man on the moon with the success of the Apollo 11 mission. Yeah, if you believe that. If you believe that. In December of that year, Apollo scientist Gary Latham suggested detonating a smallish nuclear device on the moon. They're still pushing this, even after it was banned. The idea was dismissed because it would interfere with plans to measure the moon's natural background radiation. That's super important. Really? You want to? Why? What's the point of that? The natural background radiation of the moon. Why don't you do other things first? Like, you know, walk around, go up there, do things or whatever. Like build a house, build a base, do something. You know. Anyway, it's interesting. They're still pushing this. Some guy's like, "Hey, I still think we should blow up the moon." The existence of Project A119. By the way, hopefully some people in the chat have already noticed that it's 9/11 backwards, right? Okay, those particular numbers. The existence of Project A119 remained largely secret until the mid-1990s when writer E. Davidson discovered the story while researching the life of Carl Sagan for a biography. Sagan's involvement with the project was apparent. It goes on to say, it was apparent from his application for an academic scholarship at the Miller Institute of the University of California, Berkeley in 1959. In his application, Carl Sagan gave the details of the project research, which Davidson felt constituted a violation of national security. The leak consisted of Sagan revealing the titles of two classified papers from the A119 project. The 1958 paper, Possible contribution of lunar nuclear weapons detonations to the solution of some problems in planetary astronomy, and the 1959 paper, Radiological Contamination of the Moon by Nuclear Weapons Detonations. In 1958, a paper titled Cosmic Radiation and Lunar Radioactivity, credited to I. Filosofo, was also named by Sagan in a 1961 paper written for the United States National Research Council. These were among the 8 reports created by the project, all of which were allegedly destroyed in 1987. Why would they do that? The resulting biography, Carl Sagan, A Life, was published in 1999. Shortly afterwards, a review published in I think a magazine called Nature, highlighted the discovery of the leaked information. That led to the man named Rifle, to break his anonymity and write a letter to the journal confirming that Sagan's activity had, at the time, been considered a breach of confidentiality of the project. Rifle took the opportunity to reveal details of the studies, and his statements were widely reported in the media. Rifle's revelation of the project was accompanied by his denunciation of the work that was carried out. He's like, I think that's terrible, basically. Yeah, we were going to blow up the moon. I think it's horrible, terrible thing. Of course. With the scientist noting that he was, quote unquote, horrified that such a gesture to sway public opinion was ever considered. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I think he's horrified that the secret got out. As a result of the publicity of the correspondence created, a Freedom of Information request was lodged concerning Project A119. It was only then that a study of Lunar Research Flights Volume 1 was made public over 40 years after its inception. A search for the other volumes of documentation revealed that other reports were destroyed. Oh, I have that copy. I'm going to show it to you guys in a minute. I don't have the other ones because they're allegedly destroyed. Oh, give them to you? We can't. Sorry. We destroyed those, and it's a painful process to get them back, to quote NASA. They were destroyed by the Illinois Institute of Technology, allegedly. David Lowry, a nuclear historian from the United Kingdom, called the project's proposals obscene, adding, had they gone ahead, we would never have had the romantic image of Neil Armstrong taking one giant leap for mankind. Okay, well, obviously he's speaking for himself, fantasizing about Neil Armstrong. I don't have those same sentiments, but let me show you. Let me share with you this document that I have pulled up here. Let's see. Let me just go over this. All right, let me see. I'm just going to add some volume to that other screen real quick. Second. Alrighty. Okay, cool. So everyone should be able to hear me now. Let me go ahead and do some sharing here. What's up, everybody in the chat? I don't see my chat right now for some reason. It doesn't seem to be working, but hopefully everything's working okay. All right, cool. So what you're looking at right now is the unclassified secret government project. Defense Documentation Center for Scientific and Technical Information, Cameron Station, Alexandria, Virginia. Unclassified. Let's start going over this a little bit. It starts off by saying, notice, when government or other drawings, specifications, or other data are used for any purpose other than the connection with a definitely related government procurement operation, the U.S. government thereby incurs no responsibility, nor any obligation whatsoever, and the fact that the government may have formulated, furnished, or in any way supplied the said drawings, specifications, or other data is not to be regarded by implication or otherwise as in any manner licensing or holder or any person or corporation or conveying any rights or permissions to manufacture, use, or sell any patented invention that may be in any way related thereto. This is supposed to be top secret. Why do they have this notice? You understand what I'm saying here? This is like the terms and conditions before you open Netflix or whatever, right? They're saying, before you read any of this, our hands are clean, okay? Like, reading this is basically you're acknowledging that we're innocent of any accusations at all. That's basically what I'm getting from that. Now, Special Forces Weapons CE, what does this say? Center? Hold on, let me make it bigger. Air Force Special Weapons Center, Air Research and Development Command, Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico. Here's their shield, where they have the nuclear bombs, the atom, explosion, some stars, the Rothschild shield, basically. And it goes on to say, a study of lunar research flights, Volume 1, by the way. Just Volume 1. This is the only volume we have. By the same Rifle. Remember that guy I kept talking about, Rifle? Armor Research Foundation of the Illinois Institute of Technology, 1959, June 19th, 1959. Headquarters, Air Force Special Weapons Center, Air Research Development Command, Kirtland Air Force Base, New Mexico. There's a bunch of prominent names that are involved here. Unclassified title, A Study of Lunar Research Flights. Now, I'm going to skip some of this. I don't have to obviously read all of it. I would like to read the acknowledgement here. It says, acknowledgement. We wish to thank Dr. Kuiper, Director of the Observatory and Consultant to the Physics Division of ARF, for a number of very enlightening discussions of this work, centering especially around interpretation of various theories of the moon's structure and origin. Theories of the moon's structure and origin. Yet they're going to go blow it up. Could be made out of, an explosive material. They don't know. They're just theorizing on what it even is at this point. And descriptions of the probable nature of the lunar surface. It's all the mystery. Let's go blow it up. During the initial phases of work, Dr. Kaj, Director of the National Research Observatory and consultant to ARF, contributed valuable advice, especially on spectroscopic problems. W.E. Lau of ARF gave helpful administrative assistance throughout the project and provided constant encouragement, blah, 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 blah. Let's continue on. Abstract. So, this is of note as well. Let's see. Let me scooch this over a little bit. It says here, nuclear detonations in the vicinity of the moon are considered in this report, along with scientific information which might be obtained from such explosions. The military aspect is aided by investigation of space environment, detection of nuclear device testing, and capability of weapons in space. A study was conducted of various theories of the moon's structure and origin, and a description of the probable nature of the lunar surface is given. The areas discussed in some detail are optical lunar studies, seismic observations, lunar surface and magnetic fields, plasma and magnetic field effects, and organic matter on the moon. Wow. Plasma and magnetic field effects and organic matter on the moon. That's something else. They do talk about extraterrestrials in this document a little towards the end. All right, let's see what else we got. Let's go over the table of contents here. Chapter 1, Introduction. We've got Volume 2 of the report. Chapter 2, it says to see Volume 2, actually. So whatever Chapter 2 is not available. Optical Studies, Chapter 3. Optical Studies related to the lunar research flights. Chapter 4. Seismic observations on the moon. Right? The moon shaking after you blow it up, which would be the firmament shaking. The high energy radiation environment of the moon. Now that's something. High energy radiation environment. I wonder if they're talking about before or after blowing it up. I'm guessing before, because it's really the firmament. As I said before, I believe that it's projecting its own image into our sky. And that there is high levels of radiation up there. Or at least, a lot of plasma and stuff that can contain high levels of radiation, possibly. Chapter 6, Lunar Surface and Magnetic Field of the Moon. Chapter 7, Some Aspects of Plasma and Magnetic Field Effects. Acceleration of electrons in mirroring plasmas on the moon. There's a correlation there with the moon and plasmas. Plasmas acting like a mirror. I like that they have the word mirror in there too, actually. Because I believe that the firmament is reflective. It's reflecting our world back down to us. And therefore, when it projects its own image into the sky, we see a little map, a moon map. Chapter 8, Organic Matter and the Moon. That's on page 262. And then we have appendices. Survival time of an irradiated population. Interesting. Huh. Why would that be in this report, do you think? Appendix 2, Current Altitudes current attitudes and activities regarding biological contamination of extraterrestrial bodies. You see that? Biological contamination of extraterrestrial bodies. This is very interesting stuff. Survival time of an irradiated population. Interesting. Mirroring plasmas. Magnetic field on the moon. Radiated environment of the moon. Seismic observations. This is so interesting already. Let me see. Chapter 1, introduction. Do I want to read chapter 1 yet? No. I'm gonna let that be a little cliffhanger for now because I want to move on to some other stuff here that I have pulled up. Project A119. Good old Project A119. So, if you're just joining us, just to recap so far, it's a fact. It is a historic fact. It is in the written record that the United States and Russia both conspired to blow up the moon 10 years at least before the actual moon landings. It is an acknowledged fact that their problem, they were weighing out, should we tell people we're blowing it up or should we tell people we're landing on it to explore it? These were the two things they were deciding between. Nuclear weapons on the moon. It is a fact that more than one time people who work for NASA and the government have suggested, even after it was allegedly banned, that they should still try to blow it up. Still try to blow up the moon. It's a fact that the governments, especially here in the United States, were already blowing up the sky with nuclear bombs. Many times, time and time again, going out of their way, all the way into Antarctica, the edge of the world, taking their whole naval fleet, time and time again, from Germany, with Hitler, he did this, to Russia, to the United States, all the way out in Antarctica, to blow up nuclear bombs near where the firmament would come down. Catch my drift. Project A119. Last year, this was supposed to happen during a lunar eclipse. They wanted to shoot rockets at the moon during an eclipse. This was like the time, the perfect time for them to do it. Last year, we had a lunar eclipse. And last year, they did shoot rockets up at that eclipse. It was called the APEP mission. NASA's APEP mission. Serpent. Where they shot 3 rockets up at the eclipse. What kind of sense does that even make? Like, you know, if it's really far away like they say it is or whatever. They're already shooting rockets up there at the moon, at the dome, at the apex dome as well. Or the firmament, I should say. Why NASA will fire 3 rockets at the solar eclipse. This is last year's article. NASA has announced it will fire 3 scientific sounding rockets into the moon's shadow. That's the Terminator line that we were talking about, Project A119. That's their target. During the Monday, the 8th of April, during a partial solar eclipse across North America, and what will be a total eclipse for 115 miles through Mexico, blah, blah, blah. The Serpent Deity, Space Agency's project, atmospheric perturbations around the eclipse path, which doesn't even spell APEP, they just really wanted it to, will investigate how the drop in sunlight and temperature affects the Earth's upper atmosphere. It gets a little colder. That's the effect. It's pretty simple. I'm pretty sure a child could tell you that. That's the reasoning that they have, that they're telling you. See, the sheep go, yeah. The sheep go, oh, okay, I get it. I don't get it. But they pretend to get it because they don't want to look dumb. Because they're not in on it. They know they're not in on it. They don't want to acknowledge that they're not in on it. So they just shake their head and they go, yeah, that makes sense. Duh. They're trying to see what happens when there's no sunlight up in the upper atmosphere. So the rockets, you know? So duh. Apep is named after the serpent deity from ancient Egyptian mythology, the nemesis of the sun deity Ra. the moon, sun. See the correlation there? This guy posted on X, I think. Can someone explain to me why NASA is shooting rockets towards the upcoming solar eclipse, and why did they name the rockets Apep after the Egyptian serpent deity? The cataclysmic god. Launching rockets up at the eclipse. The eclipse, for me personally, is showing you that apex dome up in the sky and how the light works when it passes through it. It's an optical effect. The sun is an optical effect. The moon is an optical effect. The stars, comets, all of that. It's just optics up there in the sky. So when you see this, it is no exception. And you're seeing the outline of the apex dome itself. That's my theory, at the very least. Now, why is it called Project A119? Stands to reason there were subsequent projects afterwards, if there was, A120, A121, and then ones before that, A118, A117. Well, I found that it may go back to secret aircraft that carried nuclear bombs. Now known as the Lockheed YF-12A, but it was often referred to as the A11. Now, key details of the A11 include capable of exceeding speeds over 2,000 miles per hour, Mach 3.2, operating over 80,000 feet, developed by Lockheed's and Kelly Johnson's as a faster, more advanced successor to existing Interceptor. An interceptor, from what I understand, is a jet that's supposed to go fight. It's a fighter jet that goes and intercepts other jets, right? Or intercepts, incoming rockets or whatever. So, okay, makes sense if it's like Top Gun and you're, shooting bullets or maybe even rockets or whatever, shooting out some chaff and typical dogfights. Weapon system. Unlike the unarmed A-12, right? The YF-12A was designed to carry 3 Hughes AIM, or air intercept missiles, 47 Falcon air-to-air missiles in internal bays. Let me explain to you. This was my job in the Marine Corps. Okay, I didn't make those specifically, but I made explosives. I made the explosives, missiles, rockets, chaff, guns, stuff like that. That go up onto F-18s specifically, and some helos. So, we made bunker busters. We made all kinds of different explosive devices. There would be no... Look, this AIM-47, this is a nuclear bomb, basically. Okay? Like, if you're up there trying to intercept some other fighter plane, you're not going to shoot a nuclear bomb at it. That's for hitting something large. You know what I mean? 3 prototypes. There's 3 prototypes. This is what I really wanted to highlight. Excuse me. Although officially designated YF-12A, it was often referred to as the A11, A11 in early communications. Secret communications, I might add. So A11. So, Project A11. Says here, as an interceptor. See, can I make this large for you guys? Where is it? Oh, the A stands for Archangel Project, by the way. I lost it now. Hold on, let me get back to where I was here. The Archangel Project. The A in this series stood for Archangel. Interesting choice of words. Lockheed's Skunk Works team, led by Kelly Johnson, produced 12 distinct design iterations to meet the CIA requirements for speed and stealth. Meet the CIA requirements. So it goes on to say, down here, armaments. As an interceptor, it was planned to carry Hughes GAR, later AIM-47 nuclear-tipped air-to-air missiles. Air-to-air. This isn't for like blowing up a aircraft carrier or anything on the ground or hitting a large target or whatever. This is to be shot in the air to hit something up in the air during a time during the Cold War when they were planning on blowing up the moon. So that's A11. That's how it was known, this particular spacecraft. So my theory is that as they continue, A11, right, that they keep going, A11 version 1, A11 version 2, A11 version 3, all the way up to A119. Now, this is interesting too, because if this is true, let's look up A113 Pixar. They keep showing this all over the place in Pixar, and I don't have like, anything solid to just tell you as a matter of fact this is what it means. But if you look this up, they put this number in like every Pixar movie on specific things, but oftentimes on vehicles. See all that A113 references? Right? So I think this is a prior project or something that the insiders know about. They'll tell you, oh no, that's just the number of the door where all the Pixar students drew in their class or something dumb like that. I don't believe that. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why your classroom door number would be so important to you. You know what I mean? I don't think so. If anything, they would hide the word Pixar or, something less secretive, and stuff like that. But for example, this shows up all the time, especially in association with space, rockets, Buzz Lightyear, for example, astronaut. This train has it on it, and this train was, going to crash into something. We've got this object up here, which basically kind of looks like the apex dome or the moon. It's all over the place. This one actually has A113, and then right after it, 1195, which has 911 in it backwards. A lot of interesting connections there. I have nothing solid to give you as far as that goes. I just have a hunch that they're related. I don't know. But yeah, it seems to be connected to special secret government projects. Like, for example, this rat in Ratatouille, he has a little tag on his ear that implies he was a test or a laboratory rat, like a secret project rat. And it says A113 on his ear. Anyways, it's all over the place. You can find it all over the place. It's a fun little rabbit hole to go down. How's everybody in the chat? How are you guys hanging in there? How you doing? 226 people watching right now. High five. Thank you very much. Good to see you guys. Yeah, shoot the moon. Somebody said shoot the moon in the chat. Happy birthday to Chloe in the chat. All right, cool. So let's read a little bit more from that secret government project. That is not it, but that's a little preview teaser of something I'm coming out with shortly, which is collector cards. I'm going to be doing collector cards, tentatively called spoof seekers or conspirator cards. I don't know which one, but they're going to be spoofs of many famous YouTubers in the conspiracy circle world, similar to the style of like Garbage Pail Kids or something, just as a collector, just as a fun thing for people to collect and for me to sell to people because I would like some and I think that'd be awesome. So you guys can probably guess who that was. Maybe. Anyways, let's go back to the document here. Let's read a little bit more. I'm not reading this entire document tonight, but like I said, stay tuned because I'm going to be doing a whole series on strange and secret government projects and operations. Now, it goes on to say, let me make it a little bigger. Oh, wait. Whoa, I might have pulled that way too far. Okay, here we go. Okay, sweet. It says here, rapidly accelerating progress in space technology clearly requires evaluation of the scientific experiments or other human activities which might be carried out in the vicinity of the Earth's natural satellite. Among various possibilities, the detonation of a nuclear weapon on or near the moon's surface has been suggested. The motivation for such a detonation is clearly threefold: scientific, military, and political. Politics motivates them to blow up the moon. That's lovely. How many movies can you guys think of where they blew up the moon or where the moon blows up into pieces and it's humanity's fault? The scientific information which might be obtained from such a detonation is one of the major subjects of inquiry of the present work. Scientific information like what? Exactly. Like, what happens? What do you think's going to happen whenever we blow this object up? It'll probably blow up. Like, there's not a lot more. You notice how they're saying, like, oh, it's for scientific inquiry, but they don't tell you what their hypothesis is, you know? In the whole scientific method, they're skipping the whole hypothesis part of it. They're just saying, like, oh, it'd be cool to see what happens. On the other hand, it is quite clear that certain military objectives would be served, since information would be supplied concerning the environment of space, concerning detection of nuclear device testing in space, and concerning the capability of nuclear weapons for space warfare. Who are they going to fight in space? What war in space was happening in 1957 or whatever? None. Nobody was even in space. Well, you could make the case, oh no, they knew it was right around the corner. They were just planning like chess, planning 3 moves ahead or whatever. Could say that. Or you could say that there was a war in heaven a long time ago, that it's happening again, and that they're trying to ascend to be like the Most High and go all the way back up to heaven, and that they're clearing a war against the dome itself, the boundary, the gate that, you know, locks us in and keeps us out of those heavens. The political motivations for and against the detonation of nuclear weapons are equally clear and are in reality outside of the scope of present work. Obviously, however, specific positive effects would accrue to the nation first performing such a feat as a demonstration of advanced technological capability. Listen, that's a bunch of lawyer speak. Let me break that down to you. Politically, they believe that all of the sheep would wave their flags and say, "Go America! Team America! We blew up the moon first! Take that, Russia! We're the best!" Instead of being concerned as intellectuals. Now, unfortunately, this might be actually true. They might gain some kind of political momentum from all of the sheep and animals that walk around in the disguises of humans who don't know any better, even within their own cosmological view and theories that the moon is a gigantic rock that affects our gravitational pull and the tides of the ocean and stuff. They're not thinking of the repercussions here at all. You know, debris flying back at us, like nothing even within their own models. I just thought, that takes me 2 seconds to think of that and go, bad idea, scratch that, don't do that. That's not a good idea. Terrible idea. We should probably land there first and then go explore and check it out and figure out what that even is before we go trying to blow it up. And yet they're making an entire 300-page document, one of 2 other ones, by the way. And they have all these plans, and they have spoken with one another. They have made equipment. You know what I mean? They've devoted time, energy, money, and many other things to this. And never does it seem to have been a fleeting thought where they're like, nah, that doesn't sound like a good idea. We probably shouldn't blow up the moon. It is also certain that unless the climate of the world opinion were well prepared, now we're getting into it. Unless the people's opinions, your mind, your perspectives, and how you see things, unless the climate of the world opinion were well prepared in advance. Now think about that. What's another way of saying that in the conspiracy world? Having the minds of the people well prepared in advance before something happens. What do we typically call that? Somebody in the chat tell me. I want to see who gets it, actually. Who's going to agree? Who's going to figure out what that means in plain English in the conspiracy world? I'll come back. I'll come back to the chat. Unless the climate of world opinion were well prepared in advance, a considerable negative reaction could be stimulated. What does that mean in plain English? The people might not like this. The people might be concerned that we're blowing up the moon. They might do something about this. Obstacles to detonation of nuclear weapons on the moon from a scientific viewpoint center around environmental disturbances, biological contamination, and radiological contamination, only the least of which is unique to a nuclear weapon. Let's see, who got it? I see MK Murphy, predictive programming. Yes, propaganda. All you guys are pretty much on point. Mind control, programming, conditioning, predictive programming. Yes, exactly. Good job. I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so glad. You know what I mean? Like, it's, as a truth seeker, I'm sure you guys can relate, but you need to hear other people understand where you're coming from time to time. You need that. I need that. So let's see. A central theme which runs through many of the project's experiments or experimental situations envisions placing of a maximum of 3 identical instrument packages. Bombs. Okay. That's the fancy way of saying bombs. At arbitrary locations on the visible face of the moon prior to any possible nuclear detonation. Well, we know that they were not arbitrary locations. We know they were around the Terminator line, right? These instrument packages would be equipped to make a variety of measurements treated in the following chapters, and as such, only certain operations would require a nuclear detonation. The instrument packages in general would accumulate, very valuable information on the way to the moon. Well, maybe these aren't the bombs. Hold on, let me reread that. A central theme envisions placing a maximum of 3 identical instrument packages. Okay, maybe these are not talking about bombs. At arbitrary locations on the visible face of the moon prior to any possible nuclear detonation. So let's ask ourselves this question. Have they already placed some sort of instrument packages on the moon, allegedly? Or on the dome? These instrument packages would be equipped to make a variety of measurements treated in the following chapters, and as such, only certain operations would require nuclear detonation. The instrument packages in general would accumulate very valuable information on the way to the moon, while emplaced on the moon before any detonation, as well as during and after possible nuclear detonation. The location of the instrument packages need not be predetermined, but is presumed to be known by virtue of suitable markers. God, that's hard to read. So think about this. Listen, here's my theory. They're trying to blow up the firmament. Our world is pressurized. When they blow up the firmament, we will see that in the moon. Okay? If you look at the moon, since it's just a projection of the firmament at the top, you'll see the moon blow open. You'll see the moon explode or split. If that happens, all the pressurized atmosphere will start getting sucked out until the electromagnetic pulse goes away and the Earth's naturally occurring magnetic dome reconstitutes extremely strong magnetic force, keeping those gases in once more and refreezing them to recreate the dome. So this would be a short-lived thing. If that happens, then it stands to reason buoyancy will increase in the atmosphere as the winds kick up and things get sucked up into the sky, making it seem like we have lost gravity temporarily. Maybe this is the connection to Project Anchor. That's my theory. And if they know when they're going to blow up the moon or the firmament, then they know when the Earth will lose gravity, allegedly. Goes on to say, clearly the landing of 3 complex instrumentation packages on the lunar surface with state-of-the-art techniques either today or in the near future must be considered a maximum effort. It is presumed obvious to the reader that many valuable measurements could be performed with only one instrument package, or for certain of the observations to be treated in the present work, only terrestrial observations are required. In no case have we attempted to detail the design of a suitable instrument package combining the foundations necessary to perform the many experiments discussed. Such an effort would have been large and perhaps entirely inappropriate at this early stage of overall planning for possible lunar experimentation. In conclusion, it should be perhaps emphasized that the course taken has been the exploration of a fairly large number of problems and experimental possibilities without, in any given instance, attempting to be exhaustive. That means we haven't covered all of our bases. We're just going to do it. It is evident that many aspects of the problems which are treated here remain untouched or at best have been only qualitatively considered, meaning this is all a thought experiment at this particular juncture. This is our hypothesis. Furthermore, it is almost unnecessary to point out that a vast number of possible experiments, not even mentioned or perhaps not even considered by the present group, should be carefully evaluated. A vast number of possible experiments, not mentioned, and perhaps not even considered by the present group of people, should be carefully evaluated. This sounds like a warning to people in the future who are going to carry on this experiment or this, endeavor. The enormous effort that would be involved in any controlled experiment on or near the moon demands nothing less than an exhaustive evaluation of suggestions by the many qualified persons who have begun to think about this general problem. It's such a problem, right? The moon is such a problem. Damn moon. Always getting in our way, making the sky all bright. All right, that was chapter 1. Chapter 2 says to see volume 2 of the report, but we don't have volume 2 of the report, so it skips that. It's missing. Chapter 3 says optical studies related to the lunar research flights. Interesting. I wonder what that one's all about. I don't know. Don't know. Hold on. Jump back over here. Let me jump into the chat. I don't want to spend a little time with my chat. I haven't really seen you guys while I've been reading this whole time. And I want to know if you guys have any questions or comments. Go ahead and type it into the chat right now if you do, about the topic, Project A119, blowing up the moon, blowing up the firmament, trying to ascend back up to the Most High. While I get this image here moved back around. Oh, you know what I could do? I could just go back to that one image I like. I like this. Yeah, I like that one. Sweet. Now I'm gonna jump into the chat over here and see what you guys are saying, and then I'm gonna wrap things up. This will be to be continued. Okay. I have other secret government projects, operations and stuff that I'll be talking about in the next couple of weeks, covering and going over. I hope that you guys find this interesting. I've got so many weird ones, stuff I guarantee you have never heard of, that are gonna blow your mind. Where you're like, how could the government even think to do something like that? That's the kind of weird stuff we're going to be talking about in the next couple of weeks. Let me jump into the chat, see what's going on over here. Let's see. Boom, boom. Where was I here? There's my nice picture. And my chat is pulled up. I see Kimberly. What's up, Kimberly? Good to see you. Lucy Rose up. Shout out to you guys. Dr. Humaniel says maybe what they're trying to shoot is the force field or its generator. Well, see, yeah, that's one of the things, right? If we consider the magnetic field of the Earth, the naturally occurring magnetic field, to be the force field, right? Then whenever you shoot these nuclear bombs into the upper atmosphere, they've already tested this out during multiple nuclear blasts up in the upper atmosphere, that it creates a strong EMP, electromagnetic pulse, which can disrupt the naturally protective magnetic dome that goes around the Earth. So for a while, there'll be a gap. You know how they talk about like the hole in the ozone layer? Okay, this will be a hole in not just the physical portion of the dome, but an actual crack possibly, or hole or something in the magnetic field. Magnetic field would be disrupted. And the magnetic field is what is holding in all of the gases, not the physical dome, not the ice dome itself. The magnetic gases are diamagnetic. so it holds them in. If you disrupt that magnetic field, those gases will naturally start pushing up against the dome where the explosion occurs, making it even easier to put a hole into it. Dr. Bob's Nightmare. Hey, what's up, Dr. Bob? Good to see you. Jeff says he didn't get a vote for that. Yeah, you're not going to be able to. They don't vote for this type of stuff. Let's see. Anything else in the chat? See any questions or anything? Kathy Lynn Reed says, JayDreamerZ, we have gained a lot of knowledge because of you. Thank you so much. Oh, that was nice. That was very nice of you. Thank you. And you're welcome. Oh, 3 is minimal for triangulation of signals and origin, says Dr. Who. And you're correct. That's right. So it's in order to triangulate and, you know, pinpoint objects and stuff like that, you want 3 of them. And that I believe he's referencing that they wanted to place these 3 instrument packages on the moon or whatever. So that's likely what they're trying to do is map it out, triangulate and stuff. Somebody recommended I make bumper stickers. I have actually looked into that. Sorry, I got the hiccups. What else? I remember the phrase "shoot the moon" from an old movie, and the clip was used in a song. It says Elena Kotovsky. A nice name, Kotovsky. Yeah, shoot the moon. I actually one of my more popular videos is called "Shoot the Moon," where I talk about the apex dome and the blue beam that shoots up towards the moon and stuff. But little did I know at that time, they're really trying to shoot the moon. This is mind-blowing to me. This is revelation. And I'm going to be talking about this for quite some time as I keep my eyes. I hope that you keep your eyes on the ARTEMIS missions. Oh, matter of fact, speaking of the ARTEMIS missions, I'm not even done. Sounded like I was about to wrap it up, huh? I'm not. Check this out. Let me go. Where am I here? I need to screen share again, but where did it go? Oh, I'm already on it. So check this out. I'm gonna relate this to the ARTEMIS missions right now. Let's see. So what do we got here? What do we got? Ah, yes. Project Orion, nuclear propulsion in space. It was called Project Orion. Let me just read it. Project Orion was a study conducted in the 50s and the 60s. Same exact time frame. Same time that Doc Brown goes back to in Back to the Future, right? Project Orion was a study conducted in the 1950s and 60s by the United States Air Force, DARPA, and NASA into the viability of, a nuclear pulse spaceship that would be directly propelled by a series of atomic explosions behind the craft. So, Project Orion was a rocket that they admit would be carrying nuclear bombs up into space. Allegedly to like make it, go the speed of light or whatever, like so you can get some Star Trek action. Following a preliminary ideas in the 1940s. They first started thinking of this in the 40s. And classified paper co-authored by some physicist in 1955. Check that out. I didn't even know that was going to show up. That's amazing. No, I bet, could it be November 5th? Is this supposed to be Doc Brown? Look at this dude. Who is this, anyways? Proposed the general idea of nuclear pulse propulsion in 1946. Preliminary calculations were made in Los Alamos, dated in 1947. In August of 1955, he co-authored a classified paper proposing the use of nuclear fission bombs ejected and detonated at a considerable distance for propelling the vehicle in outer space. Wow, this is serious stuff. Anyways, listen, here's my point, right? You got Project Orion, nuclear bombs in space. Guess what the name of the craft is for Project Artemis, where they're going to land on the moon? Orion. The astronauts, act like they just made it up, like they took a really long time to think of like a really cool name for their spacecraft. They didn't make it up at all. They were told this is going to be called this is going to be called the Orion spacecraft. Orion is directly related to Project Orion, nuclear bombs in space. Do you think they might be possibly, continuing Project A119, trying to use alleged nuclear bombs or any bombs at all to blow up the moon? I'd say it's an awfully big coincidence. I don't believe in coincidences. Here they are. They don't seem like what I would expect. I've heard their interviews. Okay, they seem more like the guys from Armageddon. They're going up there to like drill or something. Like I mean that these guys probably won't go drill or land on the moon or whatever. But if somebody is going to go up to the firmament, they're going to need to drill holes into it to place bombs. You're not going to just blow up the outside of it and expect it to work. Could be, possibly. But if you really want to get it down, you're going to have to drill into the firmament, into that ice, and then stick your bombs in there. And all that oxygen is probably going to refreeze, or I don't know if it's oxygen, but all the gas up there will probably refreeze back into ice as soon as you stick that bomb right in there. So it'll be firmly implanted in the firmament, in it, before they blow it up. Let me check the chat one more time. And then we'll run the credits and stuff. All right. I'm just looking to see if anybody has any questions or comments. Grinny Page says it's not a good idea. Let's see. Lucy Rose Up says the stupid Philadelphia experiment too. So something is possible to get from point A to point B. Yeah. Yeah. Kathy Lynn Reed says, I want sweatshirts and t-shirts so bad. Is there any chance that you can sell some? I don't know. I would have to charge a lot of money to sell t-shirts and sweatshirts and stuff because they cost a lot. I don't know. That's why I make small things for my merch, because they don't cost a lot to ship out and stuff. That's the only reason I don't do that. Like, I would feel bad. I know other YouTubers charge for like $60 t-shirts and stuff, but God, I would feel like a terrible person for doing that. I don't know. Maybe if I can think of a way, where it won't mess with my conscience, I'll do it. Let's see. Anything else? We got MK Rumpy, who says, JayDreamerZ, there was a video game in the 90s about the Cold War being used as a distraction while the US and Soviets put their men into space. Yeah, I don't doubt it. That's interesting. Lucy says, your biofield is your anatomy. I really think it is. Very good. Let's see. I think anything else? I think that's about it. I can't read the whole chat. I'm just kind of skimming. They have a patent for wormhole technology. Interesting. Sweet. Well, it's time for me to go be dad. I'm gonna wrap things up, make some dessert for my son and myself, play some Fortnite, ground myself, stop thinking about all the crazy stuff in the world for an hour or two, and get some sleep for tonight. Thank you so much for joining me. If you want to support my work, go to patreon.com/JayDreamerZ. And there's different levels of support tiers and stuff. You can jump into the credits. You could just support just for, because you just want to be supportive or whatever. And there's a chat over there. There's also my website. You can support me that way too. Or you can just, check it out because it's actually truly valuable. Not even as a means of support. It's just a very valuable website with lots of information. JayDreamerZ.com. And of course, if you would like to know more about the plasma apocalypse, you want your own copy of my book, you can find that on my website as well, JayDreamerZ.com, for both of my books, the Ancient Oblivion series. Or if you just want a vanilla copy and a little bit cheaper, just grab it from Amazon and leave me a good review. All right, cool. Until next time, I'm JayDreamerZ saying good vibes and goodbye.
In a time when an ancient cataclysm is about to return, one book holds the key to unlocking the biggest secret In all of history, JayDreamerZ presents Ancient Oblivion, the Plasma Apocalypse. Study it, and you'll discover the very real details behind the reoccurring event that resets civilizations and reshapes the entire world. Bridging the gap between fiction and fact, this book is a must-have for all truth seekers. Then in his second book, you'll learn about the one place of refuge from this world storm. You'll explore the ends of the earth, find the fountain of youth, and envision yourself enveloped in the vapor canopy. In Ancient Oblivion, Return to Hyperborea. Available now. Order direct from JayDreamerZ and receive your very own autographed copy. Go to JayDreamerZ.com for more information on our Ancient Oblivion and the Plasma Apocalypse, and sign up for a free 24-hour cram session with a complimentary day pass. The end is near, so order now before it's too late.
For me